Hey everyone, welcome back to Life After Neverland. We are on week 6 with our chosen devotional, and the topic is redemption. So we're going to get started right out of the gate because there's lots of good stuff up in this redemption section. So here we go. The Old Testament is full of strange things. Stories of a man swallowing fish, a flood that rebooted the earth, a brass section that brought down the walls of a city, just to name a few. And there are plenty more where that crazy came from. Some stories are so outside the norm, they're difficult to imagine. And sometimes it's even more difficult to discern God's purpose behind them, at least at first glance, which is why reading about Jesus is such a gift. So much of what God did in the Old Testament makes sense when we learn about the things Jesus did and said in the New. So in this devotional, we have 3 examples here, and I'm going to talk to you about one of those examples. Noah. God told him to build the biggest boat anyone had ever seen. One so ginormous that it couldn't have been towed from the building site to the dock. Water would have to come to it. And Noah endured relentless mocking from all the God rejectors who were watching. That is, until the rain came, flooding the earth and wiping out every living thing not on that boat. Noah's salvation story was a picture of foreshadowing of what would take place on the cross. 1. Humanity rebelled against God. 2. God made a miraculous way for righteousness to be restored. And 3, God gave grace to the right people who believed. Now, when we stop here, I have such an interesting story to tell you. I purchased a book that is Christian-based that says it's basically about dogs being in heaven, animals being in heaven. Do animals go to heaven? And I purchased that book. This is very, very interesting. I purchased that book when my dog Savage died. He was hit by a car. I had spoke about him in one of my prior devotionals, and it took Sean and I off guard. It's been very devastating to us. It still hurts hardcore. And what's fascinating, at the very beginning of that book, and I'm reading that currently, they talk about Noah, all the things that actually is discussed in this devotional. They also talk about Jonah and the whale. What else were they talking about? The people of Nineveh. Hopefully I'm saying that properly, but how animals were an important factor in all 3 of those stories, and those stories are mentioned here in this devotional. So I'm reading these simultaneously together, and these stories are coming together in 2 different versions of what I'm doing. It's just blowing my mind. So I'm having a little bit of a hard time articulating myself, 1, because there's lots of distractions, and 2, because I'm a bit emotional today. So this place where I am right now is a very, very special place that Sean and I used to bring Savage, and we would play and we would do all kinds of fun games, and we were teaching him how to walk on a leash properly here. This was our favorite place to go. We had lots of wonderful, beautiful, happy memories with him, and this is the very first time I've been back here since he passed, which was in November. And when I got here, I just felt really emotional. My heart was beating really hard, and I was shaking like I am now. Even talking about it is really hard, but I forced myself to come here because I don't want this to be a sad place. I want it to be a happy place. And what is so crazy is I see cardinals all the time, and I always relate cardinals to him and of course to God. And because the week after he died, I saw a cardinal, and it was the week to the day. I mean, it was literally the same day that he passed away, a week later, and we saw the cardinal, and the cardinal was waiting on our tree, and here comes my husband coming into the driveway, and he had the opportunity to see the cardinal, and as soon as my husband saw the cardinal flew away, and I really truly felt that that cardinal was there. It was either a message from God about Savage, or Savage's spirit. However these things work, I don't know. I'm sure it's a combination of the 2. And I just felt like he stopped in that day to let us know that he was okay. And ever since, I have seen so many different cardinals whenever I think of Savage. Okay, so for example, in the mornings, I always take my dogs to go to Dunkin' Donuts and I get them a donut while I get coffee for my husband and I. And basically this past couple of weeks, as I've been getting closer to God, I've been seeing a cardinal almost every single morning on my route to get coffee. I saw them this morning in the tree next to my car, and so I always feel like that Savage saying hello or coming along with my current dogs and I for our coffee run with donuts. Well, upon coming here, there's a beautiful area in the back, and I kept wanting to record there. And they were doing some lawn work and making all kinds of noise, and I kept having to move. So I moved to this area. Now this is the area we spent a lot of our time in. I really didn't want to come over to this specific area, and so I was really grumpy about it. And as I'm walking this way, here we go, there are two cardinals literally sitting on this bench. Literally sitting on this bench. It's the coolest thing ever. I really feel like God is sending me a message, and that's one of the things that it was saying in Animals Going to Heaven, is that animals are messengers, you know, especially birds. For example, with Noah is a messenger. And even with the Ninevites, I guess hopefully I'm saying that right, they saved the animals also. So once they asked God for forgiveness and God decided not to, seek his wrath on them, they saved the animals too. So it's just basically saying that God cares about the animals as well, as he does us humans. He looks at them as his creation. So I digress, but I just had to tell you guys that story because it's kind of crazy that I'm coming here to talk about my chosen, and the stories are connected to the book I'm reading about animals going to heaven. All three of those stories are, and how emotional I am to be here. And then there is a cardinal, two of them, sitting right here, right here. I just love it. I had to share that with you guys. Oh, it's the most beautiful thing. All right, so we're going to move on. Now, this has a little bit different message, but it's kind of crazy how they're connected, as I said before. So let's get back to it. Where were we? Okay, so the 1, 2, 3 pattern can be seen in the majority of Old Testament stories, but the supernatural bells and whistles sometimes keep us from seeing the heart of the matter. That from Earth's first moment until now, and from now until the end of the world as we know it, God is writing a story of rescue and redemption. And Jesus, the creator of the world, the one who whispers to clouds to make them pour out snow, the one who sculpted Mount Everest and dug out the Grand Canyon, the one who mapped out the galaxy and hung every star, wrote himself into that story. He allowed himself in human form to be rebelled against, provide a miraculous way for humanity to be restored, and give grace to all who believe. I have to move. All right, guys, had to move again. All right, so here we are. Whew. That was a little bit of a walk. So let's talk about the prayer focus for today. Thank God for his story of redemption. Then ask him to reveal himself even more in all the ways you're pursuing him. And I want to talk about that quickly. Everything that's kind of happened this morning is completely and utterly ironic and so beautiful. Like, my heart is still racing, and I just feel really emotional because how I seek God and how I reach to God and how I want him to play a part of my life is always through nature, and like we were talking about with the cardinals. I really honestly cannot believe that that is not a message from God and Savage, my dog, because when I arrived here today, I was it's teaching me something. I forced myself to do this. I knew it would be painful. I knew it would be hard because I knew memories would just come into my mind. And I feel like I prayed that Savage would be here with me in spirit. I prayed so hard. I was like, Savvy, please be here in spirit while I do this. I know I could do this. I'm going to push through my pain. I'm going to push through my fears. And I just want your memory to just always be something that makes me laugh. It makes me happy. And then to see the cardinal, to literally be pushed in that direction, to see those cardinals is the most moving thing, and I truly believe it's a message from God and Savage. And on a side note, I didn't name him Savage as in like savage because he's a Roddy. He was a Roddy. I named him after my favorite rock group, Def Leppard. Their bass guitarist, his name is Rick Savage. So if you like Def Leppard, give Def Leppard a whoop whoop. But I think this is my most favorite thing that's happened this whole entire day. Like, it's really beautiful and really, really moving. I'm like, my socks are knocked. I like knocked my socks off. God knocked my socks off today. It's like the coolest thing. I can't even. If you guys want to see my dog Savage, if you want to see him in action, you can check out our playlist that we have. It's called Fur Baby Fridays, and you'll see the black Rottweiler and us playing in this area here. I just remember him doing so many funny things that made Sean and I laugh so hard, and I'm feeling good about it. I'm glad I pushed through today, and what a beautiful, beautiful gift God gave me with seeing those cardinals. So they have something to think about for the week, and this is the one that I want to talk about. It says, what does his sacrifice on the cross reveal to you about God the Father? I'm pretty sure we all have a different answer in regards to that. So humanity rebelled against God. So you think about things in your life maybe where you're hitting a roadblock, or something in your life where let's say you go a certain direction in your life and everything in your life is turning against you. Basically, the people in your life no longer work for you. Maybe your job no longer works for you. At one point it was working, and at this point it's not, and you keep pushing forward and pushing forward and pushing forward, and it's not working. In fact, it just continually gets worse. So that's something like with me in my heart that I think about. So like the rebel. Things in my life are rebelling against me, and what to do next. And then the second one, God made a miraculous way of righteousness to be restored. And I feel like if you are brave enough, if you are courageous enough to close the door on things in your life that are not working for you, for your best benefit, for your purpose in your life, for your true soul and your family, and you'll know that. You'll know everything is going wrong. Nothing seems to be going right. And sometimes it's really hard. You have to decipher what is not going right. Is it my job? Is it the people in my life? Unfortunately, is it my family? So what do you do at that point? If you're brave and courageous enough to see what it is, pinpoint, and then make the changes. So I guess an example that I could use is, say, like maybe somebody who's an alcoholic, and they want to turn their life around. But the people that are in their life are the ones that are kind of encouraging the behavior that they're trying to change because they want to better themselves. Maybe they're the type of people that are pulling and bringing them down instead of lifting them up. And I think when you're used to having people like that in your life, it's really hard to shut the door on those people, turn around and try to meet new people that will uplift you and bring you to a good place, because then it's kind of scary to socialize and bring new people into your world. And that alone is scary. Not only saying goodbye to the people who you once loved who are no longer serving you, but saying hello to new people when you don't really know if they're always going to have the best intentions for you and your life. So in that sense, your life needs to be restored. You need to find a new, starting fresh, right? So God gave grace to the people who believed. And same thing with me even. Once I start putting my focus on God, once I start using Him as the forefront of everything that I do, and really talk to Him, I talk to Him daily, just like I talk to a friend. And my life has literally turned around. It really, really has. And I feel like today is even an example. I feel like He tries to show me that He's there for me in different ways where He knows I will recognize it. Like the cardinal, He knew that I would have a soul connection with that. And how beautiful is that? I'm so glad that that happened while I'm having my chosen devotional right here today, so you guys can have an example of something like that happens in my life. And it happens quite often. It's very interesting. I feel like I can have a relationship with God, and He will show me signs through nature, through the animals. I mean, it might sound crazy, but it's so true. If you open up your mind to it, I'm telling you, it's so beautiful. I guess when I think about Jesus and God putting him on earth so that he can be in human form. It teaches us things that I don't think I've ever had anyone express to me before in relation to the Bible or God. Not in this type of way, where Jesus went through similar struggles that we go through, but I feel like it's on a much higher scale. And, he was bullied, he was looked down upon, and just treated like trash after he did so many good things. So many good things to people. He literally changed and reshaped people's lives. And to see that happen, and I feel like the more seasons that we get to watch of The Chosen, it's really going to hit us hard. It's really going to hit us even more. If you can think that the first season alone has already touched our soul, can you imagine when we start watching Jesus physically do things for people that is just going to totally change their entire world and for the better, and then to ultimately see what happens to him in the end. And I think, there are bits and pieces to the people that we meet, the disciples that we are meeting along the way, and the things that happen to Jesus that we can all relate to in many, many different ways. And I think that's really important. I think that's something that connects us to Jesus, and I think that it's beautiful. He rose from the grave. I feel like that's his example of saying that there is heaven, there is an afterlife, like it's going to be okay. But I think that it's important for us to not sink ourselves into all of the negativity and all of the bad things that have happened to us in our lives. I am extremely guilty of that, and that's something I want to change here and now. For example, coming here today, Savage died in November, so it's taken me that long. It's now May, and I have not come to this place, not one time. I've driven by and I've prayed and given him like my little kisses to heaven, but I haven't walked the perimeters of this place where all the memories were made. And so I guess hopefully that's an example for you guys to just push through your pain and push through your fears. And just like seeing the cardinal, God is there for you. He's there. He's absolutely there. You just have to open your eyes. You have to open your eyes and you have to be receptive to it. I could easily say, oh, that's just a coincidence. But it's happened to me so many times now, and it's almost happening right after I pray. I mean, I prayed right before I came here. And this was very stressful and very sad. And now I feel like I have God with me every single day. I feel like Savage is with me too, as well as this crazy Woody Woodpecker over here. I hope that this uplifts you today, everyone. I'm so grateful that you're here, you're watching. Those of you that have been commenting and staying very committed to my devotionals, I can't say thank you enough. I've enjoyed connecting with you. I've enjoyed reading your comments. Many of you have told me a little bit about your own stories, and that alone is beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful that The Chosen can connect people in such a way that is positive. People aren't being passive aggressive. People aren't throwing out their opinions and criticizing others. You guys are being uplifting not only to me, but to each other, and I cannot say thank you enough. Hope you all have a beautiful rest of your week, and God bless you. Bye, everybody. Thank you.